Looking to buy a new compact SUV in 2024? Well, you came to the right place because we have reviewed and driven all of the offerings in this segment. Now, this is an enormous segment. It's actually ballooned up to 14 different offerings. But we want to clear the air and narrow this into our top 10 picks in the segment for 2024.
And these aren't just going to be arbitrary rankings. These are going to be based on the 5 most important categories for the compact SUV shopper. So after our expert opinion, what is going to be in the top 10 and what's going to be our top compact SUV? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about the 5 categories that we will be grading in, the most important things to a compact SUV shopper. In this segment, we think that what matters a lot would be your space, your luxury, powertrain, as well as technology and value at the $35,000 price point. Now, that means what do you get at $35,000 if you're not going for a top model, if you're going for a semi-mid-trim level, which is probably what most people buy. What type of equipment are you getting for that price point?
Right, exactly. And in each of those categories, we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being poor, 2 being below average, 3 being average, 4 being above average, and finally 5 being exceptional, above and beyond.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the top 10. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our number 10 pick, which is the Ford Escape. It comes in at an overall score of 15, and some of the areas where the Escape excels would be in the powertrain and technology. Actually, as a matter of fact, in the powertrain section, it scores a 5 for being exceptional because you have 4 powertrain options with this model. You have a plug-in hybrid, a hybrid, and 2 gasoline options, a high-output gasoline option, and a traditional option. So really, it just gives you the full gamut when you're looking at the powertrain experience, and also the technology, since its refresh has really become very class competitive and class leading.
All right, rolling on to the number 9 spot, we have the Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, this has a total score of 15, and you might notice, Drew, that's exactly the same as the Ford Escape. Well, we do have some ties that come up naturally since we're just scoring on a 1 to 5 basis. And in those cases, we're going to break those ties with our personal experience with the models outside of the 5 sections that we're grading in. As we mentioned, we have tested out all of these extensively, so we know a lot of intangible things that maybe don't show up in those top 5 most important categories. Nevertheless, that brings us to the Tiguan, where it really stands out in terms of cargo space. That model is going to give you a lot of space in the back, and it's also going to give you an available third row, which is very unique for the segment.
And moving on to number 8, that is going to be the Subaru Forester. Now, this also comes in at an overall score of 15. We actually have a 4-way tie that we went ahead and broke by just kind of arranging them in our personal experience, like Drew mentioned earlier. But the Subaru Forester really excels in quite a few areas. For instance, the cargo is an exceptional spot in this Forester. We also do have quite a lot of luxury and value at the $35,000 price tag. That's really where this Forester excels. And honestly, the reason that it's as low on this list as it is because it only has 1 powertrain choice. So it gets a below average score of 1 for the powertrain. So do keep that in mind. If that powertrain's fine to you, then the Forester might bump a little higher on your list, but we want to make sure that there are options for those of you who want a hybrid as well as other choices.
Now, before we get to the number 7 spot, do want to note that, of course, there's always new products coming out in this segment. In particular, we are going to have a new Chevy Equinox and GMC Terrain upcoming, but they have not been shown yet. So, of course, stay tuned for any future updates in that segment. But as far as today, they are going to be graded with the outgoing models. Now on to number 7. right here on my left side is the Mazda CX-5, and we also went ahead and grouped it in with the CX-50. They are not the same model, but by and large, they are very, very similar to each other. And these are two models that we really have a soft spot for in our hearts. Now, this is not really a factor in this in terms of our top 5. Obviously, driving dynamics, though, is important to us. But taking it into our top 5 consideration, the things that really stand out about these models are the luxury factor. They really spoil you. They make you feel like you bought a compact luxury crossover, but you're paying mainstream money.
Also, areas where they excel would be your value at $35,000, which of course is something that person appreciates. However, really why it ranked as low as it did is because it is number 1 when it comes to space. This is actually the smallest in this entire list when it comes to cargo capacity. So do keep that in mind. If you need a lot of cargo area, the CX-5 is probably not going to be your best choice. And if you're curious as the difference between the CX-5 and CX-50, we do actually have comparisons on the channel that will detail those differences between the models. And then moving along to number 6, this will be the Honda CR-V with an overall score of 16 points. Now, areas where this vehicle excels actually is going to be the entire opposite of what the CX-5 excelled in. It excels in space. It gets a 5 because the CR-V is just so big in terms of cargo area, in terms of the rear seat space. You have the reclining seat. It really just nails the space department. Now, as far as other areas, it does get a 3 in areas of like technology as well as the value at $35,000, namely because a few different things you are missing when you choose like a sport trim level of the CR-V, such as the larger screen. So a lot of the rivals on this list are going to give you a larger screen as standard equipment. However, the CR-V does make you get into the higher trim levels to get the latest and greatest technology. Now, I'm sure you're ready to get into the top 5 compact crossovers, but first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, time for the number 5 slot. That is going to be the Nissan Rogue. We're coming in at an overall score here of 18 points. And it really scored above average in a lot of sections.
Yeah.
One of the sections is, of course, going to be interior luxury. When you choose to have something like the platinum grade, Nissan really throws in a lot with semi-aniline leather, quilted details. It really feels very solid and luxurious overall. We're also looking at a 4 in technology because we have upgrades for 2024 model year. You're going to see a big display with Google built in.
Yeah, and space, it's also very consistent. Honestly, if the Rogue gets an award, it's a very consistent car across all 5 of our categories. And moving to our number 4 slot is the Toyota RAV4. Now, it comes in at an overall score of 19. And as far as where the RAV4 excels, obviously they sell so many of these vehicles. It's nearly 1 million units a year. It's the number 1 non-truck in the U.S. in terms of sales figures, but it really excels when you talk about the powertrain. It scores a 5, being exceptional because you have a ton of choices. You have a traditional gasoline option, you have a hybrid option, and you have a plug-in hybrid option. It's worth noting that the hybrid, which sells in quite a volume, gets really good fuel economy at 40 mpg combined.
Best in the class.
It really is exceptionally good fuel economy for that model. And also, it scores highly when it comes to technology. They have that new updated display in there with wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and also when it comes to luxury, because the RAV4 is going to allow you to get pretty much any feature that you're wanting. You can have heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, digital gauge cluster, a 360 camera. Those are things that are not available on some of the options in the segment that we've been talking about.
Things are really starting to heat up here because we're at the top 3. And for the number 3 position, we have the often forgotten option, the Mitsubishi Outlander. This model is something that perhaps is not on the radar of a lot of people, but really should be, especially in the newest generation.
Yeah.
Because it scored a 5. That is exceptional in 2 different categories. First of all, space. This is an absolutely enormous option for a compact crossover. The space is actually pushing the upper 70s in terms of your overall cargo volume. And you even have a 3rd row in the back. Also, you have value at $35,000. As you might expect, a Mitsubishi is going to be packing in a lot of features for your money.
Now, in terms of other areas, it scored a 4 in luxury because especially if you get the higher end versions of the Outlander, it has a lot of really nice details like quilted leather seats and stuff that really the vast majority of the competition does not offer. And we want to remind you guys right now, if you're looking to buy any of these compact SUVs that we've named off so far, to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, on our website, we have a tool that will connect you with local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. A link to that is provided in our video description. And we're off to the races with number 2. This will be the Kia Sportage, which with an overall score of 21 points out of 25, let me remind you. So that is a very, very impressive score. As far as where it really excels, it would be at your value at $35,000. That is where this vehicle scores a 5. We actually had a vehicle on loan back home for a full week and sampled it out. It was an EX trim level with I believe an option package on it, and it was $33,000, and it really just had everything that someone would be looking for in this compact SUV segment. It even had a blue interior, which was just extra bougie feeling. So
yeah,
this vehicle,
sunroof
I mean,
well.
yeah, it really excels at that value quotient. So if you're looking for a, mid $30,000 price point, you may be able to get a lot of those features on something like a RAV4, but you're going to be paying a lot more money for it. That's for sure. Now, as far as other areas where this vehicle excelled at, it actually got a 4 in every other category, which would be space, luxury, powertrain, and technology. So it's a very solid offering when it comes to all of the other categories, but really excels at the value quotient.
All right, this is it. This is the number 1 spot. It's the Hyundai Tucson. Now, by and large, a lot of what we said about the Sportage does actually apply here to the Tucson as well. As a matter of fact, these two are siblings to each other. That means that it is exceptionally well-rounded, as we discussed already. We have above average or exceptional scores in all the important categories that people consider when shopping in this segment. As far as differences between the two models, you are going to get a little bit of additional features sprinkled in with the Tucson, which is why it's above the Sportage.
Yeah, so what are those additional things? You do have smart parking for the Hyundai Tucson. You're also going to have a 3-year complimentary maintenance period, which is something that you do not get on the Kia Sportage as well. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on our top 10 compact SUVs. Like we've said at the beginning of the video, this is a very hot segment. This is probably the hottest segment of vehicle that there currently is. So there are new rivals that are coming in all the time. So of course, stay tuned as we update some more of these new rivals and as we head into 2024 with some of those new products actually coming out. Of course, we'll be doing updated videos to make sure that you stay up to date on the newest offerings.
Yeah, and of course, this is our top 10 based on our expert opinion in the top 5 categories. But as you know, there's more to consider than just 5 big categories. There's actually a ton of different things to consider, and we want to know what you think in the comments below. Who is your winner based on your priorities? Because we're all a little bit different in terms of that. Even though we do have those 5 main categories represented, you might care a lot about style, and that's going to bring up another rival, reliability, stuff like that. So let us know what you think down below.
Yeah, and like Drew was saying, that does, of course, mean that some of the options that didn't quite make the top 10, which would be the Ford Bronco Sport, the GMC Terrain, and Chevy Equinox, they may be higher on your list, just depending on what matters most to you. And do keep in mind with the Terrain as well as the Equinox, they will be new very shortly. But guys, if you are new to Car Confections, we would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us to make more videos like this, as well as our signature full review videos. And if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible, and we really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.